Yesterday saw the launch of the RX 6600 XT, but the question now is, which one should you actually buy? Let's do this.
Andy, what are you watching?
It's not what you think.
Wow, it's so big!
Why, thank you. It's the new AOC AG493 UCX, 49 inches of pure performance and a refresh rate of 120 Hz. It's so fast. You can even do two at a time.
What?
You can connect two devices at a time and split the screen. With FreeSync Premium Pro, a 32:9 aspect ratio and a built-in KVM, you'll be finished in no time. Gaming, I mean. What did you think I mean? Get your mind out the gutter and click the link in the description to find out more. So yesterday saw the launch of the RX 6600 XT, AMD's fight to Nvidia that kind of sits between the RTX 3060 and 3060 Ti. And while AMD do maybe lack, I guess, a little bit in support for ray tracing and Fidelity FX Super Resolution, which for those who don't know is their offering of DLSS, it was very overdue from Team Red to give consumers something for the most popular resolution out there, 1080p. So, this video is a weird one because I don't really want to stomp over old ground with kind of what we spoke about in our main 6600 XT video, which of course I do invite you to go check out first, but the basics are that there is no reference card from AMD, and instead we looked at the MSI Gaming X model, of which I have here. But today we're also going to be going over the Sapphire Pulse and the XFX Merc 308 cards as well, so we kind of have a little bit of a nice spattering here. So I guess let's talk about each model's speeds, because along with the cooler and the design, the main difference is going to be its clock speeds. Now, the AMD reference spec, because even though there isn't technically a reference card, AMD still supply their AIBs with kind of a spec to stick to. And within that is a game clock speed of 2359 MHz and a boost speed of 2589 MHz. Now, for simplicity's sake, the Sapphire is slightly increased with a game clock of 2382 MHz and a boost clock of 2593. And the MSI and the XFX cards are, well, they're actually identical at 2428 MHz game clock and 2607 MHz boost. Now, there is actually a reason behind this, as Sapphire are actually releasing two models for the 6600 XT. The Pulse that we have here, which comes in at $349.99 in the UK, and the Nitro Plus, which is clocked a little bit higher and comes in at $379.99 in the UK. In terms of the design, well, it's nothing necessarily new. It's a two-slot card and is actually the smallest card out of the three we have here today. It has two large fans to keep temperatures at bay and a pretty stylish backplate. And being honest, it is quite stealthy looking overall, though does have, I guess, a few little red accents on there, which I get some people aren't going to like it because, well, it kind of dictates the colour scheme and the theme of your system. But on the other hand, it's an AMD card, so you'd expect a little bit of red here and there, wouldn't you? The MSI Gaming X is the same. It's nothing necessarily new. It's a little longer, it's a little taller, it's a little thicker in comparison to the Sapphire, and it will take up just under 2.5 slots in your case. The fans are slightly larger and they do make up the patented Twin Frozer 8 cooler. It also has a large solid backplate with some room for heat to escape, but is much more kind of plain looking than the Sapphire Pulse. Now, anyone who's had an MSI GPU before will know that they are generally regarded as having some of the best GPU cooling solutions on the market, and you'll see if that's the case in our benchmarks today. Sadly, at the time of filming, we've not actually been given any pricing on the MSI card, but based on previous launches, they are generally slightly more expensive than the competition, but normally for a very, very good reason. And then lastly, we have the XFX Merc 308, which, I'll be honest, this is only the second GPU that I've had from XFX in the last couple of years, so it's quite hard for me to really comment on the design, other than the fact of, well, I like it. I mean, it's about the same length as the MSI, but it does look a bit more premium. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's not really leery or garish. It includes 3 fans instead of the 2, like on the MSI and the Sapphire, but are obviously slightly smaller fans. Now, one thing that I do like is the cooler. It actually kind of wraps around the card, and instead of being all edgy and sort of gamery, it just looks quite stylish. It does, of course, include a large backplate cooler like the other cards, And one thing that it actually does have is it includes a BIOS switch, though at launch we are told the clock speeds on both BIOSes are the same, but it could change with an update, who knows. Again, no word on pricing, but knowing XFX and the fact that they have a model below this, you're going to be sort of hazarding a guess this is going to be slightly above MSRP. But in today's market, who knows? Now there are a couple of common things on all three of these cards. The first thing is that they all have a single 8-pin power connector. And the second thing is that they all come with the same display outputs of 3 display ports and a single HDMI port. So with each card kind of out the way, let's get into why you're actually really here. Performance, right? So let's run those glorious benchmarks. So benchmark wise, I mean, it's all pretty self-explanatory. When looking at synthetic benchmarks, the faster 2 cards, which are the MSI and the XFX with their faster boost clocks, beat the Sapphire card with its lower clock speed. This is nothing new, and remember, you'll likely be paying more for the MSI and the XFX cards because of it. When it comes to games, there was a frame or 2 at best in most titles, with some faster paced games letting the XFX and the MSI kind of run away over the Sapphire. Though when looking at the likes of Doom Eternal, for instance, are you really going to notice a difference between 211 FPS and 224 or 225? Of course not, so it's kind of a redundant point. Now, performance aside, what about the actual coolers? Well, acoustic-wise, this is where the larger fans and that twin Frozer cooler on the MSI and the triple fan cooler on the XFX really came into play, at 5 decibels lower than the Sapphire. Power-wise, it was all pretty much of a muchness, with not much between all three. But temperatures is where that MSI card really did show why it demands that extra premium to it. The Sapphire fared pretty well, I'll be honest, as you'd expect on a, I guess, slightly noisier card, but the XFX kind of dropped the ball a bit. Of course, this is something that XFX could address through adjusting the fan curve slightly, but that will come at a price of compensating for that lower noise output. Sadly, you're either going to have noise or temperatures, unless you're MSI, kind of as we saw here today. Now, I do want to put one caveat on this whole video, and that is the fact that in a perfect world, I would have preferred to have had the Sapphire Nitro Plus to compare against, as that would have been kind of a much more level playing field. But we don't live in a perfect world, so it is what it is. This is the cheaper card, these are the slightly more expensive ones. How much? I just don't know at the moment. So what do I think? Well, it's a tricky one. If I want a card that is closer to MSRP, then the Sapphire is the logical choice here. But it will be a little noisier overall and will have those red accents. If you want a great performing card but don't mind having slightly higher temperatures, though still within safe limits by a country mile, then the XFX is the one for you. And you gotta admit, it looks pretty damn smart too, though be prepared to pay for it. And if you just want that typical all-rounder that performs great, looks great, and has an amazing cooler, then the MSI really is the best. But based on previous launches, you are gonna be looking to pay a little bit more for it as well. So yeah, what about you guys? Which one will you be adding to your shopping basket? Permitting that you can actually get stock of one. Let me know in the comments section below. And with that, hopefully you enjoyed the video. And if you did, you know exactly what to do. And I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.